heads up to this podcast. It's all about, well, celebrating good times. And also a lot of personal stories that I've suddenly found that I don't celebrate, and I should. And I think you should too. And I know we should all over us, but this is a good way of shooting all over us. So have a listen. I think you're going to really enjoy this. It's like a secret of celebration. You know I hate the secrets. Anyway, here it is for you. After the next little bit of warning, then we'll begin.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, here we go with this episode, this podcast. And I want to tell you first, well, I always make a note of like a meta view or a meta thing I'm trying to talk about. It's like covert message. But I'm going to tell you what it is now because I think it's important. And it's something I learned or had reinforced again a little while ago, which was we do more good stuff than not good stuff. In fact, we succeed more than we realize. You see, I've just actually come back from a training abroad. So we've got interpreters. It's me and my son. We have an interpreter, she's a lovely lady. And I mean, she just blends in with us. There's like us two guys, her, and whoever's speaking, she just interprets and we become one unit. And we're getting a good feeling of the training. Things seem to be going really good. And then someone may ask a question that we feel, that didn't really, either it's not helping, or maybe there's something we didn't explain. Did we do it quite as good as we thought we did? And then we'll carry on. And maybe we'll get another type of question, or someone doesn't actually get what we're talking about. And I don't know whether it's because of the different languages or the different culture, where like body language or the non-verbal communications are different, that we just didn't get a good feeling for it. So Joseph and I were sitting down in the evening and going, how good a day was it? How good a day was it? Because, that happened and that happened, and that didn't feel good. But then we had to think, hang on a minute. There was 98 other people in that room who were learning, which was smiling. They were getting it. They were doing it. And in fact, it was, who are we concentrating? I know you get like the 80-20. You put 80% of your effort into 20% of that because that's a problem area, which is the wrong thing to do. Because we weren't forgetting that 98%, as it were, but we just weren't feeling it because it didn't feel good. It really didn't feel good when things aren't going the way you want them to go, or you imagine they should be going, or you imagine they are going, and suddenly like you're blindsided. And a few things happened. We really started to concentrate on, well, who did get it? Who did enjoy it? And yeah, it was 98% were really getting it. So that, to me, when you think about it, it was a massive success. Different languages, different cultures, and we were nailing it. We were nailing it. And then the thing is, in the morning, those two people would come along and go, "Hi, Paul. Hi, Joseph. Really enjoyed yesterday. Got so much out of it." And we go, "Oh." Now, we were worrying about that. And there was nothing really to worry about. But it took us a long time to start to home in on the successes we were getting. Those home runs, those things that just were really good. And I think that's what we tend to do. We tend to forget our successes, the mini successes as well. The ones along the way, those baby steps, even though we don't even sometimes contemplate or know that we're taking baby steps, we don't see that those are successes as we go along. And it also hit me because I was speaking to a lovely guy who, on our previous training, so a couple of years back, not a previous training, but a previous training in that particular country, did a little bit of work with him. Joseph did quite a bit of work with him about his career, because he just didn't feel like he was in the right place and he didn't really know what to do. And we could see, because we knew him personally, he had a great potential. He had some wonderful resources around him. He just needed to tap into them. But he just couldn't see. He thought it was there. But it's like all of us. When you know when you're good at something, you don't value it because you think everybody ought to do it. Everyone ought to be able to do it. And they can't. But you don't get that because it comes naturally to you and it's not an effort to do. It becomes something that you think everyone ought to do. So why should I do it? And we did some work, and Joseph did an awful lot of work with him and got him to change his, led him and guided him to change his outlook and his values. And obviously, in between, we've got a couple of years past. And we're just saying, how have you done? What's happened? What's changed? Are you still doing the old stuff? He goes, oh, no. Didn't do the old stuff. That was just a stepping stone. Okay, well, it wasn't a stepping stone when you were stuck on it. But we didn't say that. Well, I did actually, because I like to be a little bit sort of brutal if I know someone's really changed. I say, okay, you're playing that down now. Just remember where you were, because I want to get you to value how far you've come. And then he started to tell us all the wonderful things he'd done in 2 years. And they were ginormous. Brilliant successes. And guess what? They were all the things that he thought were impossible at the time. 2 years back. I couldn't do this. And he gave us every blooming excuse why he couldn't do it. And they were BS. But obviously, if you're either not valuing things or you've got some negative beliefs or emotions around that, they're not BS. Not to you, but they are to everyone else. And I just said to him, do you know what? I'm so overwhelmed, as it were, by your success. I love it. It's such a good story and I feel so good about it. Have you celebrated? What type of things did you do to celebrate these steps along the way and what you're achieving now? And guess what he said? And they were successes, not just the success, those successes, because there were so many of them. And he said, no, of course not. And I thought, well, what would happen if you did? What would happen if you did celebrate those successes? And his first thing that came out of his mouth was, well, I'd feel even more happy about what I do. I went, duh. And he had a smile on his face, like going, oh dear. It's like that little mini aha moment. So I said, will you go and do that? Not just for me, but for you and your unconscious mind, to celebrate those successes. So both of you know what you've achieved, what it feels like to achieve it, because when you have a success for something, you actually go back and realize what those successes are, and you have to feel them again. So it makes such a difference, because then it gives you that motivation to continue. Now, having said all of that, I obviously do this all the time, don't I? I obviously do it all the time because I know what it is. And the answer is no, I don't. And that's what hit me the other side of this, because I know I've made some successes. Some people might not see them as a success, but for my goals, what I've set out to do, I've surpassed my expectations and my enjoyment. But the thing is, I didn't go along and celebrate with other people, but more importantly, celebrate with myself. And I don't know why. Maybe that's just the thing. But I've thought about something now, that how we can do that, what we've got to do. Because you see, if you don't do that regularly and honestly, you're depriving yourself of a way to improve. And I have to improve doing this, not this. I'll talk about this in a minute. But I have to honestly improve my way of just celebrating my successes. Because when I do, I know I'll really improve the next set of successes. So there's a win-win. One is you get to enjoy yourself, do something absolutely crazy and enjoy yourself, knowing that it's going to make it even better the next time. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you some good examples and a bad examples. Well, not bad, but the ones that how they've affected me. So let's take this podcast. This podcast started off as a tiny little idea. I didn't even know. I knew what they were, how to produce one, how to record one, what to say. Didn't have an idea, but I had this dream in mind that I wanted to be able to share and break down simple processes to help as many as I could. Knowing, and I sort of knew inside, but didn't know how deep it's going to affect me, is every time I speak I make the notes for each podcast, it's me teaching myself or reminding myself or thinking of a way that I can help myself first. It always happens that way. And then I can share it to you. And as I share it, I get it another time. So, say this started as a tiny, tiny little dream of mine. I didn't know how big it's going to get. Didn't care about that. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to be able to do something hopefully quite well, continue to improve, and have an audience that grows with me. I know it's never going to be a massive audience. It's not going to be like one of these podcasts where they have millions and millions and millions of downloads. You know, the Joe Rogans of this world, the Tim Ferrisses of this world. And I'm cool at that. I'm at peace with that. I just want a nice steady increase of my audience so we become like a community, because it's like just connecting with like-minded people and sharing my stuff. Now, some people ask me though, okay, so obviously, Paul, you're making money out of this, or you're making more money out of this. And I go, well, actually, I haven't made a penny. In fact, it's cost me to do this. It cost me money to host the platforms for actually sending this all out. It cost me time. It cost me, I've bought things to record with. I spent money. But that's not the point. And it was never the point. Because I'm quite happy doing that and just having a fulfillment from it. Because I get some fulfillment out of this. I get a great deal of fulfillment. For me and you. You see, this is just improving the quality. I hope you'll realize if you ever go back to the first couple and the quality of the recordings now. And yeah, I've gone on and off track sometimes with, do you remember Mammy? I don't know quite where I went with that one. The dog and the mat and hello children. I don't quite, you might remember that. If you don't, go back a few episodes, quite a few episodes, and you'll hear some intros with Mammy. But anyway, I've increasing my enjoyment of it. I'm increasing my enjoyment of looking and learning about new things and then being able to try to share them with you. And if my enjoyment of this is getting better and richer, then, and my audience, you know, we're up to about 8 or 9 people now. But no, seriously, just gently increasing. And that's why I do ask you to share things and things like that. It's not ego. It's all about sharing. So I'm happy with that. But if I look back to how I started and the quality that I did and that little dream and how things have improved, have I celebrated along the way? Yeah. No, I haven't. And I'm going, when I was making notes for this and thinking about it, and thinking of what example can I give of my life. I went, duh. Come on, Paul, get out there, do something. I'm going to explain about the do something shortly. But I've also noticed the things that maybe I haven't improved. You see, what gets measured gets easier. And it gets easier to track. And what gets measured tends to get done. And obviously, in the podcast, I can, in some ways, measure the quality, measure the content as best I can, but also look at the audience figures, the download figures, and steadily they're improving. So something must be getting better. And that means I've also got a goal in mind. I know where I want it to go. I know what I want to do ultimately. I know there'll be things that will change and new opportunities will come along. But I do have a sort of goal in mind, which means if I put those 5 steps of success, and that's the whole thing about, getting success, it's called 5 steps of success. And what does it start with? Having a goal or an end in mind, and then taking action. And it's the action thing sometimes. You see, I've also got the things that I haven't improved. And if I look at my notes of all the types of things that I want to do more of, I might look back and go, actually, you may have done a little bit less. I nearly went into a Larry, what's his name? Curb Your Enthusiasm. No. Anyway, things like I love playing the guitar very badly. I have a ukulele that I play very badly. Have I improved? A little bit. Have I done a little bit more than treading water? Just a little bit. Did I ever set a goal and then measure it? Because I did set a few goals of a sort, but they were just like the wishes that went in my head. Like, I'd like to be able to play 5 songs. I'd like to be able to play bar chords. I'd like to be able to go between one and the other. And I can sort of. Can I play 5 songs? Yeah, but the thing is, they're the same 5 songs that I've played forever. And that doesn't help with the goal, does it? It needs to keep progressing. So maybe we've got to find out how we can improve these things. And here's the how. The how I've been thinking. I had to sit down and think about, this is all very good, Paul. You've got all this thing about celebrating. But how do you get to the point where you can celebrate? Because obviously when you do, and you do have a success, me, that other guy, and I'm sure so many of you as well, don't celebrate your successes. And there are also things that we just haven't succeeded the way we want to go. So how can we, first of all, set that in motion? And my thoughts were, obviously, you have to set an outcome. And you have to set an outcome with you have to be specific. I'm sure some of you have heard of the SMART goal. And the first thing is specific, but there's also timed. Short-term, long-term. What are those short-term goals? What is the overall big picture? Those baby steps. Because if you don't know those, you can't measure them. And if you don't know those, you can't measure them and then celebrate. And I want you to celebrate. I want to celebrate because I'm thinking it'd be pretty good pretty good. Larry David, got him. Something jumped in my hat. The pretty good. I'm sure some of you hate him as well. But no, he's brilliant. Coming back though, the way, obviously, you have to set your goals. Set those little benchmarks, those milestones, those short-term, long-term ones. And then to get there, you have to, I guess, set a ritual for practice. Now, before you set that ritual for practice and make it fun, maybe you might want to look at your values. Because if you haven't succeeded in those particular areas that you want to succeed, have a look at why it's important to you. Ask yourself, playing this guitar, why is this important to you? And then when you get an answer, you ask again, well, why is that answer important to me? And maybe a third time, why is that second answer important to me? and make sure they're towards, especially the last, they've got to all be towards that goal in mind, not away from pain. They're going to be towards pleasure, because when you go towards pleasure, you're motivated, and when you're motivated, you'll achieve, and you'll set your goals, and you'll take those baby steps, and you'll know the milestones, and then you can celebrate. So you have to find out why things are important to you first. Because if they're not, but you still think they would be, look to change those values. Understand maybe a little bit of work needs to be done. Normally around this area, it's not going to be too big. It's not going to be highly emotional. So you can just look around. Look for counterexamples. Look for things that will make it so much better. And once you've set those rituals, start doing it. Make it as fun as you can. So really start to think of holding that goal in mind. Because the whole point of, if you hold that goal in mind and feel it, Neville Goddard, remember, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Once you feel that feeling of, okay, maybe I can't play 20 songs, but what would it feel like to have that way of being, and just being able to pick up a guitar and play and sing and be so into it. Now I've got that feeling. That will make my little practice so much better, because I now have a goal in mind, and things will change. I know they'll change. And I'm going to make it fun. If I can think of making it fun and being able to change with that motivated feeling, I'm going to win hands down. So, there's the other thing you can do. Now remember, FMQ, I think it's 182, making tomorrow better than today. Have a listen to that. That's another little ritual you could do, because that's like a mini way of noticing your successes. Okay, you're not celebrating them, but you're noticing your successes for the day. And when you do that, you start to generate that motivated feeling. And certainly when you go to sleep, your unconscious mind is working out processes and ways that it can get more of the same. In fact, better of the same. And you see, here's the very thing. At the very least, do that thing about making tomorrow a better day. And if you're really brave, really, really brave, when I say the very least, obviously you have to set the goal. You have to set those steps, make your rituals. That's obvious, isn't it? If it wasn't, I hope it is now. But if you're really, really, really brave, ask others. Ask others what they've seen your successes, or have they seen any successes in your life? You don't have to give them a little pointer first. Just notice what they say, because I think you'll be astounded by what they've noticed, because it'll probably be what you haven't noticed, because you'll know the successes that you're measuring by, but they're measuring by something completely different. They're seeing it from another perspective, and they're going to say, well, like the podcast, that people will say to me, are you making money? Things like that. And I go, no, okay. Oh, so you must be having great fun doing it, because, you seem to be more open. Oh, that is a success, because I'm quite an introvert. I can be an extrovert when it comes to training and things like that, but in the other side of my private life, I'm quite an introvert. I'll be in a thing. But they say, oh, I've just noticed the way that you just are so much more with us all the time, connected maybe. And I thought, that's a good thing. So just when you ask, be ready to be surprised. That's what I'm saying. That's if you're brave. And you don't have to be that brave, because they're your friends. They support you. And you're asking a very directed question, because you want to know your successes. So, it's implied. I want to know the positives. And then when you've done all of that, here's the thing. We talk about, the whole thing about this was, celebrating your success. Make a real ritual of taking some time out. Time out to notice your successes. And then block out in your diary something, just if it's only 15 minutes, but if you can make it an hour, to go and do something just for you. It doesn't have to include anybody else. In fact, it's better that it doesn't include anybody else, because this is just you and your best friend, your unconscious mind. Go and do something which is entirely fun for no reason at all that it's fun. It doesn't have to have an end in mind other than being fun. It could be something that you've always wanted to do and you've never really done it or had the time. But now you're going to do it to reward yourself. So it could be, I just want to go to the cinema by myself. I want to go to one of those joke shops and buy a silly joke, or just go and wander around wherever and just enjoy the moment and do it for yourself. And know why you're doing it for yourself. Because when you know why you're doing it for yourself, you're saying to your unconscious mind, this was so good. We're rewarding ourselves. We're having even more fun now. We can have fun doing the stuff, and now we're having even more fun for doing it, what we've done. And everything gets, it just gets so much more richer. Your life will be, this is the old Cluffy guarantee, the old unplugged guarantee. Your life will become richer beyond your imagination, beyond your dreams. And that's what's got me excited about that, because I know that's what, I know what I'm not doing. I know how to do it. Yeah, put the two things together, Paul. Duh. My life will be richer. And the thing about it is I think we always say this. When we change, our environment evolves with us. When we evolve, our environment changes with us. See what I did there? Change the words? But it does. And the people in that environment are affected in a good way. They have to be. They cannot not be affected. And they get to be around you when you're feeling good and you're enthusiastic and you're motivated and you're feeling successful. What's it like to be around someone like that? And more importantly, what's it like to be that person? Man, I don't know what to say now. This turned into something so much more than I thought it would. But it's got me excited. It's reignited some of the things that I want to look at. Take some time out and then celebrate. Even if it's you took time out to think of those goals. If you haven't done it before, I banged the chair there, but that was the noise. If you haven't done it before, celebrate doing that one thing. Celebrate it for 5 minutes. Go out and sing to your heart's content. Have a dance in front of it. No. Do something do what you like, that's fun and doesn't hurt anybody. That's all there is to it. There you go. I think I always finish with there you go. But there you go. I'm going to wish you to enjoy every heartbeat. Have more fun than you can stand, and have more success than you ever dream possible. Now, use your Imagineering to dream bigger dreams, because they're never going to be as big as you really can achieve, because you're always worth more than that. So this is me, Paul Clough, Personal Development Unplugged. And do well, shine well, be well. Until the next time. Here's the music. And obviously before you go, if you enjoyed this and got some things out of it, first of all I say make a note of them. Listen to it again maybe, but share it. Share it with as many people as you can. There's all those share buttons. You can put it on email. You can whatever, text, whatever. Just share it with everyone you can think of. That would be awesome if you did. It's some ways of paying it forward, I guess. Just pay it forward. It will come back manifold. And subscribe if you would, so you don't even have to think about, is it Wednesday, is it Saturday? The episodes will come onto your device, whichever device you have, from whatever platform you have. And it'll just come along ready for you. And if you would, having subscribed, but also just put a review. Most of those platforms have a place where you can review, and that just helps share the word too. So we grow this community. You and I will grow this community and change the world we live in to make it even better. And then we can have another bit of celebration. And then, lastly, but certainly not leastly, paulcloughonline.com. It's the home of where I put some programs that you can purchase. But there's also all those hypnosis tracks. They're all free. They're all the ones to do with this podcast are all free, and they're all at paulcloughonline.com/podcast. Go and sign in. There's over 35 or so. There'll be more. You'll get a free, not free gifts, because I like to send out some hypnosis tracks that aren't available elsewhere. Not on the podcast, not on anywhere. They'll come in and you'll download them and they're yours to keep. And they're from me. And that's a surprise. So there'll be those as well. So do all of that. Enjoy. So that's me done now, I think. I'm off to have a little celebration. See you soon. Bye.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.